Hello. This video is going to teach you how to sit comfortably. Now, if you just raised your eyebrows and you gave me a funny face because you're unsure of what that means, it's an educational approach to help you sit down so that you can stay seated in a yoga class. So a lot of times when we start a yoga practice, we ask our students as teachers to sit comfortably, or we ask you to take a seat. And this can be in the beginning of a practice, it can be in the middle of a practice, or even at the end. And I've noticed that a lot of students, specifically those that are new to yoga or athletes that can be incredibly tight, tend to not be able to sit down comfortably because there's too much pain in their lower back, in their hips, in their knees, or even their hamstrings. So I'm going to talk you through a couple ways that you can sit that could be more comfortable for you than what's being offered. So the first option is Sukhasana. It's called easy pose, a pose that you did in gym class when you were in school. And this is a pose where when we come to seated, we just cross our ankles. We ground through our sit bones. We take our fingertips next to us, which helps elevate our heart. Scoot your butt back a hair and then you can sit up tall. Scooting the tailbone back takes the pelvis and tilts it forward. Now, if you're up here with your legs and you're very uncomfortable, that's where you can sit comfortably on a block. So I'm just going to slide a block under my tailbone so you can see, so that if I were very tight and I were kind of stuck here with my spine, this block helps elevate my spine. It helps my pelvis fall forward so that my knees can fall out to the sides. Now, we generally have a natural way that we cross our ankles, so I encourage you to switch that cross. So for me, that would be my right leg under, left leg over, to kind of force that sensation differently in each hip. So as you notice here, my knees are still falling to the sides. My heart is lifted because my tailbone is elevated. All right, if you're not sitting on a block and you feel like you're curling forward, the block can be really helpful. If you're on a block and still curling forward, that's fine. It's just gonna take you some more time, as long as you're comfortable in the knees. The second seated pose that we might offer as well is bound angle. So that's where the bottom of the feet touch. This might be more comfortable for you. This might be severe pulling in your groin and your hamstrings and your hips where there is a lot of discomfort. So that's where you choose instead just to stay like this. And then once this pose becomes easier, then maybe you can invite bound angle in. Now, even if bound angle is offered and you want to try it, but it's not as comfortable, A, you can sit on your block. All right, I'm going to come off the block. B, you can keep your tailbone a good distance away from your feet. So you don't actually have to have your feet all the way up to your groin. I actually prefer my feet about 1 to 2 feet in front of my hips. From there, you can hinge forward, which is what the purpose of this pose is to fold forward, to stretch the back of the glutes and then through the groin, and then maybe dive down from there, possibly extend the arms out. Keeping the forearms and the legs here helps to open the hips, and sometimes it relaxes the back if it's hurting in this pose. Again, some of you might be stuck up here with your back and you're super tight so you can't come forward, so maybe you just kind of hang out here. Some of you might be able to sit up tall. So again, yes, you don't have to cross your ankles, which might seem easier, but there's more pull in the legs, which is why this pose can be harder. Again, use a block if you need to. I'm going to turn to the side for this second pose. So seated forward fold, also seated pose. So this is called Dandasana, staff pose, when we sit up straight here. Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold, is when we fold forward. So this pose gets a lot of people because a lot of people sit and they go right here. They go back into this lounge-like position because it feels better on their hip flexors and their hamstrings. Ideally in yoga, we want you to practice always sitting tall. Again, that's where the comfortable seat concept comes in. So you're gonna grab your butt from the left, pull the butt cheek out, grab it from the right, pull it out, and that's gonna make sure you're flat in your tailbone, all right? From there, dorsal flex your feet. So my toes are up and my heels are rooted down. Now, option one, sit on a block, or what I like to do, especially for new students, is to put blocks underneath people's knees. If you don't have blocks at home, put 2 hard pillows from your couch or maybe 1 long hard pillow under your knees. Inhale, lengthen the spine. And then notice right away how letting myself bend my knees allowed me to sit up straighter. And I'm not even working that hard. That's what I want you to feel. From there, you can kind of drape your tummy over your legs. You can stay here. Or as you come forward, the arms come up And then you can hinge and fold. Now I know a lot of you can't grab your feet, but when you can, ideally you want to grab the sides of your feet, which is the pinky toe edge. When we grab over the feet, the shoulders tend to close. When our thumbs stay up, our shoulders stay open. And then from there, you bow forward. Now again, this is deep, so if you're not there, don't worry about it. You can also turn your block on the highest height if you're super, super tight, and then maybe just stay right here. So again, this is gonna completely relax the back of the legs. There's no tension in your hamstring. You're gonna feel a slight pinch in your hip flexors, but not much, and then you can hold on to your legs to sit up straight. Now, if you don't prefer this method, you'll just use one block, so place one to the side. Place one block underneath your tailbone. And then from there, legs can extend out. Now you might still be here, which is fine. Otherwise, you want to take your fingertips, lift your heart. So as the legs extend and the toes lift, root down through your heels. Breathe in here. Start to notice that maybe you feel good and secure and you just stay with your hands on your thighs. Again, if your neighbor's all the way folded over their legs, just let them be there. You don't have to be there. Otherwise, maybe you hinge and start to come forward. Keep your knees soft though, as you fold. Another pose that you could definitely do versus a seated forward fold is bent knees. So if it really hurts you to extend your legs and it doesn't feel safe, you can always sit just like this, holding the shins and with a long spine. All right, ideally we want to be able to straighten our legs, bend our knees, but we also want to be able to feel comfortable. So if you were to show up in class tomorrow and the practice would start seated, I would want you to allow yourself to choose any seated pose that you wish. So if the teacher says sit in Sukhasana, easy pose, just like this, but it hurts your knees, then maybe switch to bowed angle. And if that hurts your knees, maybe switch to a seated forward fold where the legs are out. Either way you can sit is great. And generally, you're not going to be instructed to change your seated pose because we want you to be comfortable. We want you to know that if we don't offer blocks, generally they're always in the room, so you can grab one on your own. Or you could also bring one to your practice, which is starting to become more common. Either way, I want you to be able to sit comfortably. I want you to enter a room where maybe there's no chairs left, or where maybe the sofa is full, and you can choose to sit on the earth. And the earth from there can comfort your tailbone, and you can feel good. If you have any questions about these seated poses, please feel free to comment below. I encourage you to practice these daily. For me, sitting down doesn't hurt my body, so I practice other aspects of the yoga practice. But if for you, sitting on the ground hurts you, that's where I want you to overcome that sensation and feel safe and strong. Thank you for joining me for this video on seated poses. I hope that you sit comfortably in your next yoga class or in your home. Have a wonderful rest of your day.